for her for Angie. Should I see Mutiri and some cost and sense or cost the all the latest updates and appearance and be updated. Yes, already in Fini Chim, so I be too far the near Chamber Parliament House. Na a year Speaker Van Bagbin. I put some rules, strictly rules, be part to restricted the MPs from doing such activities such as or can say a deep pressure about to MPs for so. Na saa asɛm wei wanka sɛ these street rules no ɛkɔma ɛyɛ NPP for anaasɛ NDC for wɔsi rules yi a wɔde to dwa no ɛkɔma ɛyɛ all the MPs in parliament yɛnim baabi NPP for gyina ɔmo ho hyehyɛ ɔmo ɛna ɔmo asɔre gyina through ɛyɛ Afenyo Markin ɛna kyerɛ sɛ wakasa ɛkyerɛ sɛ ɔno deɛ ɔne speaker abambe nya adwene o ɔne ne nya adwene. Now, no dear of the Nibako court, now Marco tested the Wakano or Supreme Court. I just say any as and get we could see the Omoka Fahono, so that is also a Mahamaya regarding some year the Etu Yankunkuti, near resident.
While the Speaker acknowledges that some appointments may have been made under misapprehension or without ill intent, the situation nonetheless requires immediate corrective action. Accordingly, all members, ministers, and deputy ministers currently holding any office of profit or emolument not expressly authorized by law or not under any exemption outlined above are hereby directed to take steps to regularize these positions without delay. Any such member shall, within 14 days from the date of this communication, submit to the Committee on Office of Profit, a formal request for approval in accordance with the procedure set out under Standing Order 224. The request shall disclose the nature of the appointment, the duties involved, any remuneration attached, and any other matter necessary for a full assessment by the Committee on Office of Profit. I further direct the Committee on Office of Profit to treat this matter with urgency. The committee shall receive and review all requests for ratification promptly and submit the recommendations to me for determination. Honorable members, this directive takes immediate effect. I mean, the 14 days rule that have just been stated, within which members have to comply with the procedure, starts from today. I will give permission for your leaders to make comments on this. As I said, it's a statement from the Speaker. If you so wish, you are not compelled. And so I'll start with the minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make some comments on the statement you've just made. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the essence of this statement from you is to sanitize the whole process of members having to engage in some other activity. Mr. Speaker, whereas I am clear on my mind regarding members holding office of profit, a requirement for the committee chaired by the second deputy speaker to provide some exemption to enable the member practice his or her profession. I'm clear on my mind on that one. Regarding a deputy minister or a minister of state or a member of parliament sitting on a public board, that in all humility, I think I may have some disagreement with Right Honorable Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, these are views you've expressed, and I also hold the view that to the extent that you have made reference to the Constitution, perhaps, as you said, we all express views on the Constitution. Perhaps we may have to test the law on this particular matter, because my reading of the Constitution and our standing orders, it appears that the intendment is aimed at looking at those other activities that are undertaken by members outside of this house, but for profit. So I'm a lawyer, I go to court, and it is expected that I have to exhibit that warrant or that certificate which exempts me. But if I'm a member of this house and say I'm appointed as the chair of the premix board, or I'm appointed to the road fund as a board chair, or to the ECG board, Mr. Speaker, my very humble view, and I so humbly express that, and I do so modestly, Mr. Speaker, is that to the extent that that is a public board, it is not for profit, because it is part of that public service that you are delivering. However, there is also another argument that if you go to such board, you may be earning some allowance, some emoluments are there. So the argument could be that still you will need the permission of the speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, as for the argument, they may be very divergent and very diverse, but like I said earlier, the appropriate forum to give a determination to this matter is the Supreme Court. Mr. Speaker, not to bring my own matter here, but I recall somewhere 2015, there was this debate in Winneba where the highways, Ghana Highway Authority official was contesting for the chairmanship of the NDC constituency party. And then an officer of GES was also contesting as a secretary for the NDC. And we argued and argued and argued. Eventually, I decided to test the law at the Supreme Court, invoking the appropriate constitutional provision, which says that certain category of public service or civil servants are not supposed to be part of the partisan discourse. Mr. Speaker, I was shocked when the Supreme Court eventually made a determination and said, well, to the extent that certain category of public servants were not listed in the provision I had invoked, I cannot imply that they must be part of it. So we should restrict ourselves to only those who have been listed in that provision, which stops those category of persons from being part of the partisan discourse of our democracy. Mr. Speaker, as a result of that, officers of state-owned institutions, officers of GES have been part of the politics, whereas somebody from the Ministry of Education is not qualified by the Constitution. Somebody at the Ghana Education Service is able to, and it goes on and on and on. So, Mr. Speaker, for now, we have to yield in obedience to your directive. However, if you are open to further discussion on this matter, I may want to suggest that Mr. Speaker may place the aspect of his directive that relate to public institutions on ice for us to test the law. It will be part of the democratic discourse. Why not? Mr. Speaker, I shall yield to my respected colleague, the majority leader, to have his bite on this matter. That is all I have for now, with the opportunity given me. Thank you, sir.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm one of those that agree with you that we must do all in our power to strengthen Parliament. And in doing that, we must ensure that we have parliamentarians that will be independent-minded and will faithfully scrutinize executive action and ensure that the good people of this country get value for money, which is the investments that they make in us as members of Parliament. Indeed, some time ago, I used to share your position very strongly that members of Parliament should not be serving on boards because I thought that it compromised members of Parliament. Until somebody drew my attention to the fact that we have ministers who are also members of Parliament. If we do have ministers who are members of Parliament, who are in the executive, then the argument that a member of Parliament serving on a board, which is even a lower category than a minister, compromises that member, falls flatly on his face. And so, Mr. Speaker, I abandoned that position and yielded to the posture where members of Parliament can be appointed to serve on boards. If members of Parliament can be made ministers of state, if they can be made deputy ministers of state, and when they are ministers of state and deputy ministers of state, they can also statutorily serve as members of boards or even chair some boards, then it becomes difficult to hold on to a position that other colleague members of Parliament who have not become ministers of state or deputy ministers of state cannot serve in a subsidiary organization of a ministry, which is a board under a ministry or some state-owned enterprise. And so I, honestly, Mr. Speaker, have abandoned my position that members of Parliament cannot serve on boards, both statutory and state-owned boards. But Mr. Speaker, I think that we must, in doing this, be mindful of not placing people in positions where they will be compromised. Their position as board members, their position as board members or even chairpersons will compromise them and make it impossible for them to exercise scrutiny and oversight. Mr. Speaker, it might be the case that having members on these boards will enhance the boards, will strengthen the boards, will make the boards more efficient, because there are members here who are very capable, very competent, and when they serve on boards can really offer leadership. And this country will be deprived of that leadership if we hold on to a strict position that members should not serve on boards or chair boards. Mr. Speaker, I agree with you that whatever the case, the Constitution is clear and our standing orders are also clear on the requirement to apply to the Office of Profit Committee for you to approve the occupancy of these board chairmanship or board membership positions. So, Speaker, I think members are already applying, and I recall last week some members approached me to urge the chairperson of that committee to start sitting. I'm told that this morning the committee actually started sitting, and members have started submitting applications to the committee. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, in the case of membership of boards, it will be difficult for a member to know whether or not he will be on a board and then apply to the committee ahead of time for approval to then go and occupy that board. It is almost impossible to know whether you'll be on a board or not. So I think that consistent with what we have done in this House, being ingenious and innovative in enforcing our standing orders, such as we have done when it came to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee, where we consider allies before they are late. Mr. Speaker, pre-laying arrangement that we have in this House, in the case of members who are on boards, we may waive or we may ignore the requirement of prior approval of your committee before they occupy those boards. And like we have done in the case of subsidiary legislation, if the member is appointed by the president, then the member can apply to the committee for the committee to then provide clearance, and then the process will be ratified. So,
for your Parliament and this latest update in United every hall. These rules are just say strict rules from Speaker Bagbin or the to General. Both NPP MPs and NDC MPs, including a independent candidate. MPs BIA or a Ghana. Now so no NPP for the almost Montiasi. Bagbin say public a year officers no. It be more how they make a profit. And we all know say public officers no. See and yes, the be maximize profit. Now was said there we say some ministers, microphobia, mom did that board so you should make a profit without the consent of the speaker. And per the constitution stated by the speaker Bagbin say or say speaker near away. This any money in our old trim, training in name. And no, and Afenyo Markin and Akroma say, what Cassadie on a day o bois dear, peoness more can me bois dear. Now so and 70 bois, we know when you are dream, a coming qua as a lawyer dear. I was here tested the law, or say the go Supreme Court and interpretation of the EPA. So be a democracy, I can was me, a bit my strength to the democracy. Cause I am Kobasi, who as a leader wakasa. And no final, even though I see a statement. So, intimacy in some seminar did you and one final. So, per honor, they are going to make sure say a run bedding, a the interpretation of the EPA to taste the law. So, as you speak in a day, a NPP MPs for what take stance, what Cassadie, and so Fabian no yarding, a Mahama Yarga HS, a morning and Crawford, and the NDC for more MPs on a day, or Mudomu Shishamo, or Mutia see pa, because they know say, and yes, Speaker Bagbin, Adrian, and I say, and some no can in him room. Or no longer monks are cross check here and say, they are Bagbin cano, Agent Amraso. From realm, so said ye name the Mra and a Bogana Hobra, and the Mra and a year since 1992 up to date, 32 years and counting. So, on the that same lonely the Ubia will be Nasa or the Mran account, Nasa on Tom Radio, no, the most supportive. So, most supportive of Bagbin a statement and the to just so more the quarters and Simbia in him. Now, said even was a yarn for the Niema bia ebe boy bia no Magana wato mu bi etoye no. Fa bi asomompe. Ade bi magana wato ye na asomompe. Omudi enko a selfish interest omudi enko a. We see me Afenyo Markin akasa my yaraga from Eden my majority side I would drink my NDC for Zakasa. Speak and so the nation to give it to my child under the comment section. Subscribe and share more news so you didn't be in for once.